Today I'll be showing you how to make custom faces for your Thomas trains. Have you found yourself being bored with your collection? Maybe some of the sticker faces are running a little flat. Or you're just looking to spice up your collection with a custom. Then you've come to the right place. Today I'll be showing you this quick simple DIY project that you can do on your own or even with friends. The mess is minimal and the cleanup is pretty easy. Before we get started, make sure that you have a clean working area. This is always important. And before anyone asks, no, I'm not Voldemort. The lighting in this room is just very pale. For this, you will need a Trackmaster or Playroll car. This one's just a basic open wagon. Any car would work. I will also be using a water tank car. I'm kind of just curious how it will work with the front, whether or not it will stick. Double-sided black and white paint markers. These will be used to paint the eyes and mouth. Also make sure to get one with a brush tip and not a fine tip. The brush tip will just help spread the paint a little better. A tub of air dry clay. This is just Crayola. I'm sure most other air dry clays could work. A set of clay tools. This is just an old set I've had for a long time. It's nothing professional. And lastly, it's best if you work on some sort of cardboard or cutting space. I don't have any here, but that's just because I trust myself. And also, it's probably a good idea to have a reference or an understanding of what Thomas faces look like. These are my duck and toad models. They're some of my favorite models in my collection. Now that is all the stuff you are going to need, but before I get into it, I just want to show you how I made my first model. So this is the first model I made, and I didn't just make a face, I had also customized the car itself. I have no name for him yet, and he's just supposed to be a rundown scrap van. And I feel like it's pretty unique. One of my favorite parts is the scar on the eye. So first I started off by sculpting a rough shape of the face and just getting the main bulk of it. I then worked on the face for a little bit and got it to how I like, and at this point I started scratching up the van to make it look a little more worn out. Once I was satisfied with the shape of the face, I popped it off, let it dry, and then painted it. While the face was drying, I took the van and painted some of the edges to make it just look a little nicer. Then I took a long piece of rope and wrapped it around twice. If you're wondering how I kept it in place, I just cut little notches into it to hold the strings in place. Once that was all done, I took the face and stuck it on, and here we are now. But with that out of the way, let's just get into the project. And if I sound different than earlier, it's because I was sick while filming the first part, but I'm better now. But we're going to want to take our wagon, and you want to make sure to mark out an area that you want to put the clay. And the back of this wagon is actually different. It's not really that important, but I thought it would be good to know. Once you have your car, go ahead and open whatever brand of clay you have, and you're just going to want to grab a dollop of clay about the size of your thumb, maybe more, maybe less, just depending on how big the front of the car is. Go ahead and stick that on and make sure the surface is clean before you stick it. You don't want any dust underneath it. And the continuing time lapse is me just trying to shape and mold the face a little bit, removing and adding clay as I go. Also, one thing to be wary of is make sure not to make the face stick out too far because it will rub against the front car, and even though there's a decent gap, it's still something to be mindful of. In order to start sculpting the face, you're going to want to pinch a T shape into the front of the clay, and this will become the eyebrows and nose. So depending on how big the eyebrows or long the nose is, you just pinch it into whatever shape you want. Here I am using some of my tools to just kind of more define that T shape a little bit because the eyes are going to go right here, and you do want the nose to stick out quite a bit. Once you have that T shape, start pinching out the middle part to try and turn it into more of a pointier shape. This will become the nose. As this time lapse goes on, I feel like it's a good time to share a story. Way before I started my channel, I tried to make a similar video like this as a tutorial of how to make a custom action figure head. And I got about halfway through filming the video. I sculpted the head and everything and showed what I wanted it to look like and all that. And once I got to putting it on, the clay shattered because I didn't realize that the head would shrink and the socket joint where the head would connect was going to be a different size. I was a little disappointed when the whole action figure custom head thing didn't work, and I eventually scrapped the video. Once you're done sculpting the face to your liking, go ahead and start scooping out holes for the eyes to go. This is where the tools kind of come in handy. Here I just changed my setup a little bit so you can see what I'm doing a little better. Nothing too much. Continue to work on the face until it's to your liking, and it's really just a matter of trial and error until the face is to how you like. Once that's done, go ahead and grab 2 small little balls of clay. These will become the eyes, and just stick them into the sockets you made. Here I'm just smoothing out the eyes and kind of more so connecting them to the face so it doesn't look like a creepy doll or anything. And by the way, the only reason why my faces are all kind of chunky and gross looking is because the tool I'm using is kind of like all scratched up, so it leaves like marks. Once you're satisfied with the eyes, go ahead and grab a poking tool, and we're going to use this to kind of create the shape of the mouth. This is the last sculpting step. After this, it's really just squishing and stretching until the face looks right to you. So for this face, I wanted him to have some big, ugly looking buck teeth. So I just grabbed some old, dried up chunks of clay and just stuck them right into the lips. I did not prepare these ahead of time. These were just random chunks of clay I just found, which is why they look so bad. Otherwise, I would have made them look more symmetrical. If you also decide to put teeth in, make sure to kind of mold the lips around it. You don't want them looking too gross or ugly. Now is probably a good time to mention that if you're feeling discouraged about this project or worried you might not be able to pull it off, just remember that I have little to no clay experience, and yet I still made these faces pretty easily. I played with it a lot when I was younger, but besides that, I don't use clay at all. Basically, at this point, it's just smoothing out all the imperfections and fingerprints on the face, and then after that, we move on to other stuff. Once all that's done, you're going to want to wait about 20 minutes for the face to almost dry, and then you're going to want to pop it off. I did an okay job pulling it off because I kind of squished it and also left a little bit behind, but we can fix all that later. Once you've successfully removed the face, go ahead and wipe off all the excess clay before going to the sink and washing it off. You're not going to need any soap because it's clay, it just dissolves in water, it's pretty easy. Then set it in the drying rack for a while we continue to work on the face. So at this point I started working on the face for the tanker, and I'm not really going to go through all the steps I went to make this one. It's basically the same as the normal car, but it's just a little more complicated because it's on the front of a tanker with like weird strap things. But it's basically the same process, not too much to talk about. Once the face is dry, you can go ahead and start painting the face, and what you're going to want to do is take the white marker to the eyes a few times until it's a clear coat, and also if you have teeth, then that too. Now you can take the dot side of the black marker and just in the middle of the white part of the eye, you just press down, and that should create a pretty good just dark part of the eye. You can do it with other colors if you wanted, but black is just the most accurate to the show because all the characters just have black eyes. Off camera, I finished the tanker car's face. He's a little more devious than derpy. Now for the last step, which is sticking the face on. And I just used some putty. You can use tape, glue, or any other sticky thing to put it on, but I simply just use sticky tack because it's the easiest. Because the way the tanker was shaped, I really didn't need putty for the face, but I decided to use some just to be safe. After this, you are now done, and you can take your new train cars out to your layout and go mess with them. Although I would say to be careful because I actually broke a tooth off of the buck tooth face, but I fixed it pretty easily with just some more putty. And here are the final results, and in my opinion, they look pretty good, and I feel like they'd probably fit in pretty well with your actual collection. Maybe they're a little too expressive compared to the normal toys, but besides that, they seem pretty good. And they could be more detailed. I'm not a professional with clays, so they do look a little weird. And hopefully I taught you something new today. Or I just gave you traumatizing nightmares. I also hope that you followed along this tutorial and made your own faces. To anyone that's new to my channel, I don't normally make content like this, so if you'd like to see more stuff like this, please subscribe. It's kind of become a yearly tradition on my channel to make a Thomas related video every year. I don't really know how it started. My first video was a Thomas video, and then I made a Thomas video to celebrate the 1 year mark, and at this point it's become just an annual tradition. But with that said, I hope you enjoyed today's video, and until next time, goodbye.